Hey there, We Can't Wrestle podcast listeners. If you haven't noticed, we have switched our server to Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple, and many, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So go ahead, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Highly recommended by me and everybody else here at the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. The brothers Maxon, Nate, and Aaron here with you for another edition of the show. And once we get our top 10 started this week, it's going to be interesting. We're going outside of our normal topics of conversation. We normally talk about mainly 80s and 90s wrestling here on the show, but this year we're actually going to delve into the 2000s a little bit, as we're going to do our personal top 10 favorite Ruthless Aggression era wrestlers from the WWE. So that'll be fun. Aaron, how's it going out there in Podcast Wonderland?
It's okay.
You said it.
It's okay.
Well, I just wanted to bring something up before we started the top 10, and that is watching some 90s WWF, and I have to say, and even going back, and if you watch like Stampede or whatever, like, to me, there's nothing more insane than the fact that Stu Hart produced two of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time with his seed, Bret Hart and Owen Hart. Two of the most entertaining, greatest wrestlers, two of my favorites of all time. And then that miserable, awkward Muppet Bruce. Like, I don't know, like, I just, like, Bruce Hart is, to me, he's awkward and he's terrible. And I hate Bruce Hart. I know it's random, but I just...
To me, it seems like I didn't watch a lot of Stampede, obviously, but he sounded more like he was more of an idea guy.
Yeah, because I mean, I hope so, because he's a cretin on TV. Like, he's just, I don't know, he's just weird looking and weird sounding, and
yeah,
I don't know, just weird. I don't know if he's the weirdest Hart, but he's the weirdest Hart to me.
Everything I've read, he's not the weirdest Hart.
Is that Smith?
Yeah, it said Smith was weird.
I've heard some Smith stories. So
Trustworthy.
Brett tells some Smith stories in his book.
He said that he invited Smith into his new house after he got a divorce. And anytime Smith was in your house, you kind of had to keep an eye on him. Steal stuff.
The Harts and the Von Erichs, they're like white trash with money. Like, I don't know. Those wrestling families.
Yeah. Say, like, he went to do something or whatever and realized Smith wasn't around and, like, walked in on him. He's, like, going through his, like, Brett's drawers and stuff.
Hey, get out of there. Yeah, I'm not, Smith's dead, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's the one that looked like Stu, am I right? Like,
pretty much.
Like when he, like at WrestleMania 26 or whatever, when the Hart family was going against Vince, like he looked like if Stu was in the ring.
Yeah, he looks like Stu. He looked like Stu.
Stu with like a mop hairdo kind of thing going on.
Pretty much.
Random Hart family conversation. Sorry, folks. I just, like I said, that Bruce Hart thing came to my mind, so I wrote it down to bring it up during the show. Is there anything else you wanted to discuss before we start the top 10?
Oh, I mean, none of them knew how to dress. I can tell you that.
Not even the good ones knew how to dress.
Well,
Owen be tucking those windbreaker pants into his boots. But I think that was more his personality than lack of fashion sense.
Yeah, they couldn't dress.
Well, before we start the top 10, I will remind everybody to participate in our Facebook group. If you have not yet joined our Facebook group, you can. All you have to do is hit up the We Can't Wrestle podcast Facebook group, obviously on Facebook, and we will accept your request to join, and you can participate there. Also, want to remind you that you can listen to the show now on Spotify if you don't want to have to download it on your podcast app. Also, you can stream it on Spotify, which also makes it available on your Echo, your Amazon Echo deal. So, your Alexa, I guess I should say. So, that being said, all you have to do is say, Alexa, play the We Can't Wrestle podcast on Spotify, and there you go. It's right there for you. Creepy, but we got to stay up with the times, right?
Yep.
So we're talking top 10, and we're talking the WWE Ruthless Aggression era. That would be, I mean, in my mind, it starts in about 2002, from everything I can gather. And then to me, it ends when PG starts. So I'd say late 2008 was my guess, because I think PG started right at the beginning of 2009.
Yeah.
So that was my my guesstimate on when that time frame would be. So I will let you go first.
Maybe just going through all of them?
No, we'll do every other. We'll do back and forth.
Okay. These are just, it might not be like, this guy was the greatest or whatever, but they're just my personal favorites.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think of this era, 80s, 90s guy, but I did my best. So the first one we'll go with is Christian.
Christian, the creepy little bastard.
He wasn't always in the main event. So obviously, he hardly was ever even in the main events. But I always enjoyed him. I even enjoyed him when he was the short. I thought Christian's most entertaining was short-haired heel,
Swarmy Christian.
Yeah, Swarmy Christian.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the best feuds of that era is him and Jericho.
Yeah.
And then their match at WrestleMania 20 is the shit.
That's a great match.
Lots of WrestleMania 20 is the shit, actually.
Yeah.
That I think makes it so that WrestleMania kind of gets swept under the rug, but that was a really good WrestleMania, and that was one of the better matches.
I liked his liked when he was with, obviously that came out of it, but it wasn't very long. But his little deal with Trish.
Mm-hmm.
When he was with Tomko and all that, I enjoy that.
Well, and he was one of those guys, him and Jericho both, but they were part of that act of that troupe of heels that kept Austin relevant, through his time where he wasn't wrestling, where he was the commissioner and the sheriff and all that stuff. Christian was always a really good antagonist for Austin, which, I mean, from all accounts and purposes, they're really good friends, and you can definitely tell. I almost, when I watch back to that time, I almost wish that Austin, some people would be like, I wish Austin could wrestle so he could have wrestled Goldberg. I'd have actually liked to watch Austin work a program with Swarmy Christian.
Yeah. But I enjoyed Christian.
So, the first one on my list that I have here, I'm a big mark for this guy. I always have been and still am today, but he did his best work, I think, during that era, and that is Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah.
Shelton Benjamin, maybe not the greatest promo, definitely not the greatest promo, but I mean, you talk about a human highlight reel in professional wrestling. I don't think anybody can deny his talent between the ropes. And on a ladder. Shelton Benjamin, I think, was an athletic marvel. And I don't think Jim Ross was I don't think he was blowing hot air when he used to call Shelton Benjamin the best athlete in the WWE at the time.
Yeah, and he wasn't even bad, promo-wise. He just wasn't, a knock it out of the park guy.
Yeah. And because of Shelton Benjamin, we got Shelton Benjamin's mama. Vince McMahon, Shelton Benjamin, control your mama.
Yeah, and one of the last like real like I don't know sports entertainment segments is that deal where they lampooned like Monday Night Football or
Oh
whatever.
yeah, with him and Trish.
Yeah, and Vince McMahon's like everybody knows that African American males are attracted to hot blondes with face masks or whatever.
And large breasts.
This is good stuff.
Yeah. And one of the best matches that ever happened on a Monday Night Raw broadcast was Shawn Michaels versus Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that match or not.
It's where he catches him with the super kick or whatever
Yeah.
out of the
yeah, I know.
mid or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's one of my favorite matches. With me, to me, that match is up there with Benoit and Angle in the cage on Raw with 1-2-3 Kid and Bret Hart. Very good match.
Yeah, and, he had a couple good matches with Triple H.
Mm-hmm. The underdog role, yeah.
Can't say that Shelton Benjamin never had a bad match, but I would say the thing that held him back was the fact that he wasn't the flashiest.
Yeah, he wasn't terribly charismatic.
Guy in the world.
Yeah. All right, so who do you got next?
Well, we just kind of talked about him. We're gonna go with Triple H.
Triple H, he's not in my top 10.
But
go ahead.
So I'm just saying he might not get a lot of love, but heel Triple H at that time, man, he was the straw that stirred the drink on Raw anyway.
And he was a constant, he was a consistent. I mean, from Triple H, you know, and Triple H gets a lot of flack for shit I don't think he should get flack for, because even if Triple H was losing to people, or if even Triple H was beating people, he was building talent. He was building people up.
And he would other than like, you know, like a Scott Steiner or something, you know, even with Scott Steiner, he would lose or he would win, but he would win just by like the skin of his teeth, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing but luck helped that guy win that match, or his buddies or whatever. Like he didn't just flat out just beat people. Like I mean he did, you know, like on Raws or something, but like the big pay-per-view blow-off, he usually wound up having to use a sledgehammer or something.
Right. Well, you know, that's the thing. You know, there's an affinity that people have, and I don't blame them because he was amazing, but there's an affinity that people have for Ric Flair. But really, in reality, I mean, this is obviously pre Jim Herd, but Ric Flair managed his career that way.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he would lose when the time came to lose, but other than that, he was the heel champion, and he was probably going to go over, but with some kind of controversy or something like that. Like Triple H really did pattern that run after Ric Flair, and yeah, like I said, I mean, Flair was almost booked the same way when you look back before probably about 1990.
Yeah, and Triple H, I mean, obviously took that from Flair and used it and tried to be the Flair of his era
and did it well.
Yeah.
And like I said, he built, you know, he helped build. I mean, all the other guys from the Attitude Era were gone. So Triple H was there to have to use himself to get new guys over, i.e. Shelton Benjamin or Batista or Randy Orton, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
And heaven forbid a guy takes his character serious.
Right. It's okay when Mick Foley does it.
Yeah, I hate when people are like, he takes himself way too serious. Yeah, it's his job.
Mm-hmm. I also take my job serious.
Yeah.
Well, we're sticking with the click because the next one on my list is a guy who I think had. He's a guy who had a better twilight of his career than anybody ever, and that is it's the second half of Shawn Michaels' career in the Ruthless Aggression era.
Yeah.
He was amazing in the 80s and 90s, and he came back in the 2000s and somehow was more amazing.
In the ring, yeah, I would say that. I'm more of a fan of
DX Shawn Michaels?
asshole Shawn Michaels. Yeah. I'm more of a fan of that guy, but I can't say that I disliked Shawn Michaels in that era, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he almost never had a bad match. Well, he didn't have a bad match, but they put him in some stinkers, you know? They put him in a program with Chris Masters or whatever, trying to get new guys over. I get it. But, I mean, overall, you think back on it and you think, you know, Michaels and Angle at WrestleMania 21, or Michaels and Michaels and Triple H when he had his comeback match.
Yeah. WrestleMania 19, him and
Jericho. And then you know, I mean, I liked his, one of my feuds that I think it's kind of a forgotten feud, but I liked his feud. I think it was in 07. I think it was 07 with Randy Orton.
Yeah.
When Randy Orton was, you know, he put Rob Van Dam out or whatever, but yeah, overall, I'd say even though he was a 80s, 90s guy, I would say that, because Shawn Michaels to me is a man of two careers. And I would say his Ruthless Aggression era career stands up against anybody else's.
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. The next person on my list, and I say person because I put a female on my list, is Lita. I'm a huge fan of Lita. She didn't okay, she's, I'm just gonna say it, she's hot, you know, and she didn't present herself as, I mean, how do I say it? She was presented as being hot, okay? Mm-hmm. It was in a totally different way, you know? Like, she wasn't going out there all the time just in, like, bra and panties and stuff like that. She just looked good.
Great.
She didn't try to look like every other diva.
Great heel.
And I was even going to say that, even before that, like, even before she became a heel, like, she's probably, in my opinion, the most athletic diva of that era, or I shouldn't say diva, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, female wrestler in the WWF in that era, she's probably the most athletic. She didn't wrestle like any of the other ones. She looked amazing. I'll keep going back to that. She still looks amazing.
And I'll admit,
and when she became a heel, it was gangbusters, man. She was great. She played a better, like, condescending heel than I think Trish Stratus did.
Yeah, well, and I was going to say to me, and you may disagree with me, but I think the greatest female heel in wrestling history is Stephanie McMahon, but I would put Lita second.
Yeah.
I don't know. I am a mark for. I don't always like what's going on with WWE, like with Stephanie. But as far as, like, heel heat and everything, and I'm not trying to get off of Lita, but I was just explaining my point. I think Stephanie McMahon's an amazing heel.
I think she's an amazing heel, but I think what's going on now is what would make me think, maybe not, is, like, number one, because a heel needs to be able to have its comeuppance, and Lita takes some shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she would go through tables and this, that, and the other thing, and yeah, like she would take shit. Like, fuck, she took the was it the barbed wire mandible claw or whatever from Mankind, you know? Stephanie McMahon ain't doing that. Say that much. But yeah, I was a huge Lita fan.
What the hell? I was trying to think. There was a what when at that Survivor Series when her and Edge are doing that promo and there's that baseball player. She's like, "Hey, Edge, baseball player, dude."
Say, just fully a Muppet. I just love it. And, yeah, I'm just a huge fan of Lita.
When Sean sprays her with the mustard.
Yeah. Just like I said, just even like in the ring, she was awesome.
And she even had an amazing send off for her character too.
Yeah.
Like her character was such an evil cunt that when she retired, she didn't even. You know what I mean? Her character didn't even go out with respect.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
I enjoy her.
All right, so next on my list is I don't know that you can have a top 10 list of the Ruthless Aggression era and not have this guy on it. John Cena.
Yep, John Cena was on mine too.
And I'm going to say this for the record, folks, and
this is Dr. Thugonomics John Cena for me.
When John Cena came on the scene, I liked some of the rap stuff, but I was not a big fan of him in the ring. And the guy proved himself to me. If that, I became over time a John Cena fan because Cena, people can say what they want about Cena. Cena's almost like Hogan, where his wrestling ability doesn't always get to shine because of the character that he's playing. But when it does, when you watch John Cena have a match with Shawn Michaels, that hour-long match they had in London, or the match he had at WrestleMania 22 with Triple H, or just amazing talent, and I didn't see it. I didn't see it in the beginning, and he grew on me. He earned my respect.
Yeah, and people can say what they want to say about the guy, but like, oh, John Cena sucks, balls. He's terrible. We hate John Cena. It's like, you motherfuckers didn't hate John Cena when he gave the FU to Big Show and beat him at that WrestleMania.
Right.
That fucking place went nuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think Cena suffered from... I don't even know. Like, he suffered from the fact that...
Wrestling fans are dickheads.
Yeah. Modern wrestling fans suck. And that goes back to probably around the time that Cena entered the gamut. And yeah, there was a bit of... I think one thing that turned people on him, which I get, was once he became popular, Vince then wanted him to be cheesy almost, Yeah. And that kind of rubbed people the wrong way because that's what got him over was the attitude of his character, the get that gorilla out of his cage, that kind of a John Cena.
Yeah.
And then once he became jerseys and cheese, I see where people kind of turned on it, but you're right. Wrestling fans are dicks too. The guy went in the ring and worked his ass off, and earned my respect.
I'm gonna pick a guy. Kenny Omega. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Who I haven't seen a lot of. I'm gonna be honest. But Kenny Omega, who everybody says is the bee's knees or whatever, that guy could go to the WWE right now. Everybody be like, yeah, Kenny Omega's here. And they'll be like, they should put the belt on him. And it could go a year. And then they put the belt on Kenny Omega. And then after a year, they'd be like, same old shit.
Yeah.
Why do you got the belt on Kenny Omega?
That's what I used to say that would happen to Rob Van Dam. If Rob Van Dam would have been around longer and been, not... When he won the WWE title, if he wouldn't have got busted with pot in the car or whatever and and got to be a longer reigning champion, that would have happened to him.
Yeah.
They'd be like, we're sick of Rob Van Dam pointing at himself and his stupid gimmick. And Mom, is the meatloaf done?
Which is funny, because that was the next guy on my list.
Meatloaf?
Oh, damn. I don't like meatloaf.
Rob Van Dam.
Yes. Like, if I ever met Meatloaf and he started, like, singing, I'd be like, get to the point, Meatloaf. Been doing this for 12 minutes.
Oh, shit. Old bitch tits, Meatloaf. All right. But
Like, we get it, man. We get it.
Rob Van Dam,
You can see paradise by the dashboard light. Jesus. Like, why does every song you sing have to be 45 minutes long, Meatloaf?
That's my problem with Santana, too. Like, oh, for fuck's sake. A 27-minute goddamn guitar solo.
I was to say, at least Meatloaf sings.
Oh, shit.
2 good songs a career don't make, Meatloaf.
And somewhere Carlos Santana's still playing that fucking guitar solo. So anyway, back to Rob Van Dam.
Who probably loves Santana.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of, yeah. I mean, those guitar solos are for people that are tripping anyway.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I'm just an RVD mark to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ECW, Rob Van Dam, just everything about the guy. Like, I enjoy Rob Van, like, people can say what they want to say about ECW, and I know I like ECW more than you do, but, and I'm not even talking, like, I know we're not talking about that era of Rob Van Dam,
right?
Just he's another guy that I can say I've never seen him have a bad match,
Mm-hmm.
and he should be what a lot of these flippity floppity guys, like the Young Bucks and all them
Mm-hmm.
that are out now, they should watch Rob Van Dam. Because Rob Van Dam's doing the same shit those guys are doing, but he did it with some thought, and he did it with some, and he did it with psychology and like wrestling. Wrestling's unbelievable, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But when Rob Van Dam would do his fantastic flip and dive and slam on the guy, he sold it.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
You know what I mean? Like, he would hit his frog splash and be like, oh, shit, that
Or
hurt too.
even better than the frog splash, the way he would sell the Rolling Thunder.
Yeah, like, he sold all that shit. Like, oh my gosh, the impact hurt me too. Like, he didn't just pop back up, but just go right into his shit.
If I'm gonna land my spine down on John Cena's broad fucking hard ass chest.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, God damn, that hurt a little bit. You know, and he would get guys in position for it, and yeah, like, if you want to watch, like, all of those guys should just watch Rob Van Dam and be like, this is what we should do.
Mm-hmm.
This is how we should promote this is how we should present ourselves in this believable manner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in this business.
Yeah, this business of the absurd. This is how I should present myself.
Mm-hmm.
He's the definition of that style.
Yeah, and I'll give you that. And, you know, like you just said, you're a bigger fan of ECW than I am. I'm a bigger fan of Lucha than you, and I know that I come down on the guys that are like the Will Ospreays and stuff now, yet I can sit here and say I'm a fan of Lucha. But I'll say this, to be honest, you know, other than there's a guy that'll be on the list later of mine, but Eddie Guerrero. I'll get to him later though. But RVD and Eddie are probably the two most believable high spot wrestlers ever.
Yeah.
And you know that's coming from somebody that likes Lucha, but I can sit here and say, yeah, I know Lucha's a little less believable, but so yeah, Rob Van Dam, definitely a good pick for your tops. Did you have anything else on Mr. Van Dam?
No, just like I said, I just think the guy, he was just awesome, and it goes to show that, like, because I know Eddie Guerrero is an ECW and everything, but I don't consider Eddie Guerrero an ECW guy.
Right.
You know? There's a reason that Rob Van Dam was the most successful ECW guy. You know.
Mm-hmm. The most.
I know Foley and all that, but Foley had a career before he went to ECW.
Mm-hmm.
And Austin was an ECW guy, but RVD was, like, you know, the homegrown ECW guy that actually did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And made.
Well, no, he's kind of like Michael, almost the two careers thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, hell, is Kyle there?
Mr. Microphone here. Hold on a second.
We're recording. We're on the air.
You're the one that's late. Jesus. Hold on a second.
Okay, hello. I feel like
Kyle dialing in from Baghdad.
Yeah, or it feels like we're interviewing Shawn Michaels on Monday Night Raw 1993. Like, while Doink's fighting Marty Jannetty.
oh shit.
Hello, handsome stranger.
Hello guys, how we doing?
Buff Bagwell?
Yeah.
He was the handsome stranger in Global Wrestling Federation.
Well, the third stooge is here.
With the deep cut. Come on, man. That was a deep...
I kind of feel like I'm Lee Marshall falling in from the road.
I'm here at the biggest ball of twine in Minnesota.
Oh, fuck.
So Kyle?
It's actually the biggest ball of weasel. You just make some shitty weasel joke.
And Bobby'd be like, what is with Marshall? What did I ever do to Lee Marshall?
Do that fucking guy.
It's great.
So on this week's show, Kyle, I guess you can just throw your comments in on your photo bomb of the show here, but we're talking our top 10 favorite wrestlers from the Ruthless Aggression era.
Oh, fuck.
2002 to 2008.
Okay.
And so far, I'll let Aaron let you know his. We've both done, I believe, 3. Mine have been Shelton Benjamin, Shawn Michaels, and John Cena so far.
Mine would have been John Cena was on mine, Triple H, Christian, RVD, and the lovely Lita.
So that's where we're at. What's that?
It's interesting. How, like, it always seems like with Lita, like, she's always, like, on that list.
Well, she should
like,
be.
You never, like, it's amazing to me, like, especially if you go back and watch, like, goddamn was she over.
And one of the things we discussed about her was, as far as female wrestlers go, she's probably the best heel ever.
Yeah.
Of that era.
Yeah, I would say ever. I mean, like I said, I
era. She's not the greatest female heel ever, in my opinion.
You say Sherry?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Female,
like Lita could. Okay, let's just say Lita couldn't make people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Edge was already a star when he wound up with Lita, but so you wanted to get a new act over or whatever. You like Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. That act wouldn't have worked. That character wouldn't have got over as well as it did without having Sherry with him.
True.
Like he got over because that was an act.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
the Macho Man Randy Savage, Macho King. Yeah. Like, I think he was more hated because he dropped Liz and went with Sherry, you know?
Mm-hmm.
He dropped the wholesome,
Well, shit.
like
Harlem Heat.
All-American girl for, like, some skank.
Harlem,
it was good stuff.
Harlem Heat.
Yeah, Harlem Heat. Yeah, Sherry's the greatest female heel of all time.
So now that you discussed Van Dam, and now we can get Kyle's take on these picks, but the next pick on my list, Randy Orton.
Okay.
I think that Randy Orton, of that class, of that Ruthless Aggression era, I don't know anybody that had better psychology than Randy Orton. Just a natural, God-given talent for the wrestling business.
You know, I'm not a big fan of Randy Orton now, like the whole Apex Predator. I liked him as the Legend Killer.
Legend Killer, and when he first became, like, when he was doing the angle with, like, Van Dam and Michaels, with the kick in the head and all that, like, that was superb. And yeah, I mean, Legend Killer, obviously. I have a hard time picking which is my favorite Mick Foley match, whether it's his match with Orton or his match with Edge. But you know, Randy Orton's hardcore match with Mick Foley to me is the stuff of legends.
Yeah.
And I mean, these guys that want to learn wrestling psychology today, that's, you know, Aaron was talking about how the high spot guys today should watch Rob Van Dam, which is absolutely true. But you want to talk about psychology, just watch that match. Watch Randy Orton take the thumbtacks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, this pretty boy, and it's like, this is nothing like this has ever happened to me. What the fuck have I gotten myself into? And it's
Randy Orton's involved in one of my favorite moments in wrestling history. And it's when he's won the belt, and then he's up on Batista's shoulders the next night or whatever, you know?
And the thumbs down.
Celebrating, and he's up on the shoulders, and before the thumbs even go down or whatever, he knows what's up, you know? Because he's been rolling with these guys forever, so he's just like, oh, fuck. Like, he knows, okay, these guys are about to turn on me.
The alpha dog is mad.
Yeah, he can tell it. Like, his body, like, he just, like, that guy's body was just like he sensed exactly what was about to happen, and he was just like, ah, shit.
So, Kyle, since you weren't in the pre-production of the show, I guess as we go through, we will ask with these guys if they would be in your top 10. Would Orton be in your top 10 in the Ruthless Aggression era?
Absolutely. Absolutely, without a fucking doubt. Because, like I said, you talk about a guy, it's not only, let's face it, when it comes to a second or third generation wrestler, you're either going to fucking make it or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And and honestly, maybe I'm wrong, but it almost feels like that the more lineage you have, the worse off you are. Like, you're not going to get that fair share, that fair shot.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and the ones that do break through are fucking very rare. And I think Orton is a perfect fucking example of that.
Well, look at all the Samoans over the years that have fallen off. You know, they were going to get that push just because they were part of that family, and off they go. Or that goddamn Eric Watts.
You like Curtis Axel.
I hate Eric Watts. Now, see, Curtis Axel to me is a different case, because Curtis Axel to me is a misused guy. I think that guy's fucking talented as hell. So I kind of give him a pass in that respect, but.
And I agree, but like with even like Ted DiBiase and Cody before he left, great talents, but they just, for some reason, it's like the company just fucking looked at him as mid-card guys. And the ones that have been able to break through that fucking glass ceiling have become fucking superstars.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Orton is a perfect example of that.
Well, some of them Samoans, they got their issues. Man.
True.
Yeah.
They like it, the druggies.
They also have man boobies. For all those people who loved The Rock, he had to leave in '99 to get surgery on his man boobies. That's why he wore the goddamn outfit, the fucking running track suit.
Yep.
Shit cracks me up.
I thought he was in the mob.
It is kind of a Polly Walnuts kind of outfit, isn't it?
Like, what the fuck is he doing?
Can I just say, just off the record, like, I know I'm going to get off on a tangent here. We'll get to Aaron's next one, but I thought of Polly Walnuts, and you know what one of my favorite episodes of The Sopranos is? The one where Polly and Chris are lost in the woods.
Yeah.
In the winter. God damn it, I love that episode. My fucking foot. Give me that fucking thing to wrap around my fucking foot.
Or when they're chasing that guy in the woods or whatever.
Yeah.
He thinks he's got the poison ivy and all that shit.
For all those people out there listening, because I don't know what our age group is, but fucking Sopranos was the Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones. So fucking go back and watch that.
It was the game of calzones. It was fucking stupid. Don't give me that one.
You know what?
Welcome.
I'm going to.
Welcome to the family. All right, Aaron. Who's next on your list?
Well, you kind of foreshadowed it, so I'll just bring it up. You said he was going to be on your list. We'll just knock him out real quick. Not real quick. You know what I mean? It would be Eddie Guerrero.
Absolutely.
There has never been an incarnation of Eddie Guerrero that I did not enjoy.
I've said it on the show before. When I watch Eddie Guerrero on my TV, I smile. Like,
and I know we're just talking in the Ruthless Aggression era or whatever, but when I say that there has never been a incarnation of Eddie Guerrero that I did not enjoy, I'm not lying. Like when he was chubby, mustache, mullet, looking like he worked at Jeep, you know, in WCW, ECW, when you go back and watch the stuff in Mexico, but especially when you got to the WWF, WWE, when somebody was finally able to tap into the actual personality and the humor and just the genius of this guy. It's Eddie Guerrero all day long.
Now, again, I know we're talking aggression, Ruthless Aggression era, but I've been watching a lot of fucking old WCW just because I'm where Aaron's at now. I cannot watch the modern product. I just can't fucking do it. So, but anyways, so I'm at the point now where Eddie Guerrero is starting to turn heel. And it's fucking brilliant because he's not really turning heel like your normal, like, oh, I'm just going to come out and be a heel. You know, he fucking screws over Dean Malenko and he's just like, why is everyone pissed at me? I'm not, you know, like, and fucking Mike Tenay has the greatest fucking call ever. And it's a throwaway line he's talking about. He's like, you know what? This is the Eddie Guerrero that I saw down in Mexico. And I thought maybe when he came to WCW, he'd grown up, but, you know, I guess he's always been this way.
And God bless him for being that way.
And it was just fucking brilliant because it was like, yep, like, you know, this is the Eddie Guerrero that I saw in Mexico.
Like when he'd cheat or whatever and like lay down and then he'd look up trying to see like the referee was down. That shit.
Or like
it was never not funny.
You
know
talk
what I mean?
about, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You talk about, and there's a lot of it to talk about. Bad WWE comedy, stuff that Vince McMahon thinks is funny that the rest of the world doesn't. It's a show for one man. But you look at some of the stuff that Eddie Guerrero did comedically, and he made it fucking work. Like his shit with fucking Kurt Angle, where he was like pawning off Kurt Angle's shit.
Yeah.
Or, I mean,
when I love
the Flair Eddie thing at the Royal Rumble when he takes Flair's wallet.
Bring that up.
Yeah, I love the shit where, like, the vignettes with him and Chavo.
Yeah.
Like, when they want to use that old lady's pool, and he's like, your pool's got a crack in it.
But they're wearing, like, the duckies.
Yeah, he's like, your pool has a crack in it. And she's like, what are you talking? He's like, you wouldn't want to, like, you wouldn't want to leak and, like, have your pool get all filled up with water now, would you? Like, it's the worst lie ever, but that lady's like, oh, no, I wouldn't want that, you know? Or when they're at the golf course, or, yeah, it was all good, like, yeah.
But
Never
going back to the Royal Rumble, because that's fucking Vince McMahon in a nutshell. It's like, haha, Eddie Guerrero, he fucking lies and cheats and steals. So we're gonna have him steal something. And in anybody else's fucking hands, it would be shit.
Mm-hmm.
But Eddie Guerrero pulls it off. He pulls it off fucking perfectly.
And then you talk about the matches. You know, I mean, my favorite ladder match is Eddie and Ray in the ladder match for Dominic's, the custody of Dominic at SummerSlam. What is that? SummerSlam 05.
Yeah.
And then Aaron and I, it's funny because we brought this event up like 2-3 times in this show, realizing how great it is. WrestleMania 20, that match with Kurt Angle, not only is the match great, but it's one of the best, it's one of the most creative finishes ever.
With the boot?
Yes.
Well, and what's perfect about that, if you go back and watch it, is when Eddie fucking fakes hurting his foot. Fucking, he looks up at Angle, and Angle looks at him, and you see him say, "Oh, fuck!" Like, and it's just like, it's fucking brilliant.
And
he knows that Angle knows that his ankle's fucked.
He's the, like, he's to me, like, when I think of SmackDown, like in that time, that's what I think about. Is Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle, and Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, but even more so than those guys, I think of Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, because he was consistent. He never switched. I don't know that he was ever part of the Raw. Well, I mean, early on he was, but once things got going with the brand split, was he ever even on the Raw roster?
Not that I know of. I'm sure he wrestled on there once in a while, but no, he was usually always just a SmackDown guy.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, he's SmackDown, is Eddie Guerrero. And you wouldn't have, and he's a polarizing guy, I know, but you wouldn't have JBL without Eddie Guerrero.
No.
That character.
Nope. Because if you would have launched that character against anybody else, it would have failed.
Would have failed. And I know people say, oh, John Bradshaw Layfield, or John Layfield's a dick. So yeah, but the JBL character was awesome.
Yes.
But who isn't a dick? I mean, everybody's a fucking dick at some point.
True that. All right, so
Bob Ross. I don't think Bob Ross was probably ever a dick.
No.
I'd say it's like Bob Ross, Fred Rogers, Owen Hart, and like Regis Philbin. Probably always pretty nice.
Macho Man, yeah.
Yeah, those are probably 4 guys that were just never dicks.
You know who else wasn't a dick? Jesus.
Well, he did say, "Believe in me or go to hell." So, I mean, kind of a dick move. Just saying. All right. Anything else on Senor Eddie Guerrero?
He's like smacking people around.
Believe in me or go to hell.
I was saying he's like smacking people around in the streets of Jerusalem. He's like, Daddy said sail.
Fuck, what did I start?
I figured, Nate, you would enjoy that.
Yes. Very good. Anything else on Eddie, guys?
Nope.
So the next one on my list, on my top 10 of the Ruthless Aggression era in WWE, is Umaga.
Umaga was not on my list, but I love Umaga.
Or as William Regal would say, Umanga!
Umanga.
I fucking love Umaga.
Umaga has one of my favorite John Cena matches, and it's that last man standing match
Royal Rumble 07.
where he chokes him out with the rope.
Him and Lashley have a great match at 23 too.
Umaga, like people be like, "Oh, Umaga, why did the WWF do more with him? Or the WWE do more with him?" And it was what we were just talking about. Umaga had demons.
Yeah,
I don't think people's lives, whatever, should be, or careers should be just summed up by the demons that they had. But that was
other than Benoit.
So,
But anyway.
Maybe that maybe their careers shouldn't be summed up with the demons that they had, but that's why Umaga didn't. That's why Umaga wasn't the next heel.
Right.
Was because he had a drug problem. But if you look at the guy, he was consistently always good, and was an awesome character. And even though it was a somewhat cartoonish type Samoan character, it worked.
It did, and it was funny because when they first brought the character in, you had this feeling of it isn't gonna work.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be Joe.
Yeah.
Everything I understand, and Joe turned it down.
Joe wasn't gonna be Umaga, but the push that Umaga got was the push that Joe was supposed to get. I really enjoyed Umaga's matches with Jeff Hardy too.
Yeah. And, comedic wise, some of my favorite shit was when Santino first came in. And he was just at first he was just a fan. So then Umaga's music would hit. Santino would be like, "What is this guy doing?" He was just terrified of him,
Yeah. Well, Umaga's music would hit and he would start jittering around the ring and
why? What is this guy doing?
I was a big fan of fucking his manager too, Armando Estrada.
Armando Alejandro Estrada.
Pull out the fucking Cuban cigar and fucking snap it in half.
I don't remember what that jobber's name, but when he was like, he's the #1 wrestler in Tejas. But yeah, so Umaga, definitely one of my tops. What would you say, Kyle? Would you put him in your top 10 or no?
I'm gonna let you guys talk about that.
Probably not.
Step off for a minute.
He probably wouldn't be in my top 10. He'd
Be right
be
back.
number 12 or 11 or 12.
Be in the honorable mention section there.
Yeah.
Well, that is the next on my list, Umaga. So yeah, everybody here on the We Can't Wrestle podcast apparently a fan of Umaga. So rest in peace, Umaga. Thank you for the entertaining shit, my friend. Aaron,
Yes.
Next on your list?
Next guy on my list, and we're probably going to breeze right over him because he's not something that a lot of people like to talk about, but I'm not going to discount the fact that I was a fan of him, and that is Chris Benoit.
Chris Benoit. You can't, well, like you said earlier, the personal life, the transgressions of someone can't take away from their art, really. And
Yeah.
I mean, in the ring, like you said, we'll make this quick, but Benoit was an artist, had some fantastic matches, and like to remember him that way, but it's hard to do that.
Yes. But I wouldn't be being an honest person if I didn't put him on my list.
Anything to add to that, Kyle?
No. Because like I said, it's tough not to get into everything else.
Right.
Which we're not.
He was definitely gifted.
And apparently a little touched. All right. So Aaron may disagree with me on this one. I know Kyle won't. But the next guy on my list of the top 10 of the Ruthless Aggression era is CM Punk.
Yep.
CM Punk to me is the Randy Savage of his generation.
You know what? I will give you that. If John Cena is the Hulk Hogan, CM Punk is definitely the Randy Savage.
I wholeheartedly believe that he was the worker with the charisma that wasn't always the top guy, but he was a lot of times 1A. And if you're going to talk Hogan and Savage, were there two guys that were more natural rivals than okay? Other than Edge, did Cena have a more natural rival than CM Punk?
I don't think so.
And I think that even though I enjoyed Cena's feuds with Edge more, I enjoyed his matches with Punk more.
CM Punk was one of those guys that, for me personally, it was like through all the shit, and there was a lot of it, he was the fucking shining light. It was like, even if he wasn't in the main event, he was still something. I'm a huge fan of the fucking Straight Edge Society.
I like the SES. I really enjoyed his feud with Rey Mysterio too.
Yep.
I like him too, but I guess the reason I didn't think of him being on my list is because he got there in like 2006.
Yeah.
And he didn't really start doing like the SES stuff and all that until like 2009, 2010, and I was going off the time frame that you gave me, which would have been like 2002 to 2008. Like, I don't want to say that I discount what CM Punk brought to the business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say that, but I think that
I know you kind of classify him in the same era as Foley. Is the gist that I get when you talk about him.
Yeah.
And that you realize that he was a talent and what's the word?
The business didn't suffer when the guy left.
Right, and probably you believe he's higher on himself than he should be.
Yeah.
And I get it. I mean, I get it. I feel that way about other people too. But I'm a Punk mark, and even during the Ruthless Aggression era, when he was in WWE ECW, he was the best thing about that. When he was Mr. Money in the Bank, I enjoyed him. Just the being the new face of 24-hour fitness. But I mean, I'm a Punk mark, and I put him in that class for me. Put him in that air.
Did you ever see the picture of Triple H? You know, when CM Punk went in the UFC or whatever and he got knocked out?
Yeah.
You ever seen that picture of Triple H?
No.
Triple H? That's on like a screen behind Triple H, like on a flat screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like CM Punk's getting knocked out and Triple H I'm sure he took it during the replay or whatever, because he wouldn't have known to do it right when it was happening.
Right.
But he took a selfie with that screen like right above his head, and he's just making this like like this shit-eating look on his face, like, yeah, buddy.
And I've never seen that.
You've never seen it?
No.
Oh, it's funny. Yeah, if you can find it, I'll send it to you. Oh, it's just Triple H being like his most prickish. It's great.
So, any more on CM Punk, gentlemen?
Nope, I'm good.
Aaron?
Oh, my next person?
Yeah.
Batista.
He was not on my list, but he definitely deserves to be on the list of that era.
That's why I put him on it.
He's on my honorable mentions list here, but yeah, I mean, Batista is or is not, and I will pose this question to both of you, and I know I'm stealing your thunder because it's your guy, Aaron, but is or is not one of the best babyface turns in the history of wrestling Batista?
Yeah.
Like that whole, like, okay, Hunter.
Yeah, and it's the same thing of like, yeah, Kyle found it, so he just stole my thunder. You guys should get the picture. But it goes to what I was saying about the. Did you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite pictures in like wrestling history.
It's funny.
But it goes to that. Oh man, I'm stuck on my words. Like, you know, when I was talking about like Randy Orton when he realized, oh, this shit fucked up, you know?
Yeah.
They were trying to do that to Batista, but Batista was smarter than them.
Yes.
You know? Like, he knew all the shit. Like, he knew that JBL really wasn't trying to hit him with the limo, and it was them setting him up.
Mm-hmm.
And Batista let them think, oh, I'm a rube. I have no idea what you're doing. You know? And Batista was like... and people might freak out. The 7 people listening might freak out when I say this, but Batista was what Kevin Nash should have been.
Yeah.
When he was like a face. Like, he wasn't like hokey smiling all the time, slapping hands with everybody. He was cool, and he wasn't like shitty to the fans or whatever, but he was still a badass. Like, the coolest thing he ever said to anybody was, "Hey Booker, I'm gonna need my belt back."
I'm gonna need my belt back.
Yeah, that was great, man. And
Or when
just
he,
like when he was,
or when
they
he,
were
had,
like they thought he was going to SmackDown or whatever, so
Mm-hmm.
he was giving them a thumbs up, and he was like, "Nah," and just beat the fuck out of him. Like,
Or when-
yeah.
or when he asked Carlito, "Did you see what I did with the flags last week?" And you're right though. His too cool for school attitude, mixed with his badassedness.
Yeah, and he was a guy that was like, you know, I know I'm bigger than everybody else, and I'm only gonna be a bully if you make me be a bully.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he was actually really, really, really fucking good in the ring.
Yeah.
Like, a guy that big and that jacked shouldn't have been that good.
And I know it didn't happen during this era, this Ruthless Aggression era. It was after that. But there are very few guys that have such a cool, like, I'm leaving the WWE moment than him when he's in that fucking wheelchair.
He's got like a tight shirt on.
And he's being a big fucking baby about the whole thing. And I mean, it was just great. Like, he did business the way you should do business. And it was entertaining. And the only thing I think that hurts Batista a little bit in his legacy was his propensity to be out for long periods of time with an injury.
Yeah.
It kind of, he had a lot of start-stop things because of that. And I'm not discounting his career at all. I like Batista too, but I think that sometimes that hurts his legacy because he just couldn't have that sustained run on top like Cena could.
And that's what I was gonna say was, in that era, he was my guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I didn't hate John Cena. I still don't hate John Cena, but like when Cena and Batista were running, like they were the two guys. Like I was a Batista guy.
And just as a side note, to go back to somebody we talked about earlier. Okay, Eddie, I'm your friend.
Yeah.
Hey, Bautista. I wish Eddie, like, that's...
You're supposed to be my friend. 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 And he became one of the greatest viral videos of all time.
For fans that don't know what the hell he's talking about, Aaron showed us at, I think it was either Mania or the Rumble.
I don't know.
There's a video of fucking Batista screaming at Ray, "You're supposed to be my friend," to the chicken dance song.
That's pure insanity. And then he pop locks, and then the video's over.
It was to the point where Nate was like, "This is too much for me."
And if anybody wants to know what's going on in my mind at the time, it's that video.
I can just see it now. Like, Aaron becomes the president. Mr. President, we need you to make a decision.
You're supposed to be my friend.
Be my friend.
My friend. Oh, it's so funny.
Oh.
Next.
All right. So
what I'm getting at is my brain doesn't work like other people's.
Kendall tells me that about myself all the time. She's like, your brain is not like other people's brain. Well, all right, that's fine. I'm good with that.
Like, okay, this happened at work. I'm not gonna name where I work, but this happened at work. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody at work in one of the working areas wrote on a pallet jack, "Skeet skeet."
You know what else I think? I think I'm tired.
I should, well, Nate, edit that part out, and I'll tell you the story after the video. After we're done, it's funny.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about work out here.
So, the next one on my list.
I don't know that person.
Well, you brought up Lita. I'm going to bring up Trish Stratus.
Trish Stratus brings something up when I think about her.
Is there a more... Is Trish Stratus the most improved wrestler of all time? Like from beginning to end?
You know what I was about to say?
What's that?
Trish Stratus is, and it's not the same, but it's the same. Trish Stratus is the female Kurt Angle.
Okay.
Like, she is a person that had nothing to do with professional wrestling, got into the business, and was like a fucking duck to water.
Aced it. Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe not even duck to water because it took her a couple of years. But what I will say...
I know, maybe not in the ring, but she got it when she got in there. You know what I mean? Like, she got it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even when she was, like, with TNA or doing whatever, she knew exactly what she was supposed to do in the role that she was. You know what I mean?
Yes.
She was hired because of her assets.
And her titties.
And it was able to prove to everybody that, hey, I'm not just...
Titties.
You know... well, not even just titty, but eye candy. Where a lot of people at that time, a lot of the female wrestlers at that time, were brought on just to be like an eye candy.
Mm-hmm.
And she actively decided, no, I'm gonna fucking get better at this.
And boy, did she.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice titties.
One of the best feuds of that era, one of the best feuds of the Ruthless Aggression era is Trish Stratus and Mickie James. Hands down. Yeah. Hands down.
Another really good feud in that era is, and I might even like it a little more, or maybe not. I think I like the matches a little bit more. Or her and Victoria.
Yeah.
Victoria doesn't get talked about enough, I don't think.
Now, Victoria's kind of in that, she's kind of in that class with Ivory, in that she just doesn't get the, Ivory was really good, but maybe she got overlooked just because
she wasn't.
Well, and
I'm not even gonna say she wasn't attractive.
No.
They weren't Vince McMahon attractive.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Ivory was in there with Sable and Terry Runnels.
Yeah, Ivory and like an Ivory, Victoria,
Molly Holly,
and Tori, like not Victoria, but like Tori,
Mm-hmm.
they were the ones that you put them in there with the eye candy to have. They were like the workhorses. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Like they were the female equivalent of a Dean Malenko, William Regal, Fit Finley, and Squire David Taylor.
Right.
You want these people on your roster because still at the end of the day, fucking Marquis says wrestling, but we're gonna put them in there with the good looking ones, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to make them better. And if they don't get better, they'll at least get something out of them.
Absolutely.
Unless that somebody's Jackie Gata.
You know, earlier I talked about Shelton Benjamin.
And all four of those women are very attractive women, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying.
Earlier I talked about Shelton Benjamin and Shawn Michaels having one of the best matches in the history of Monday Night Raw. Jackie Gata was involved in one of the worst matches in the history of Monday Night Raw.
Yep.
So there you go.
Fucking garbage.
Hot garbage. All right, Aaron, so who's next on your list?
Edge.
Oh, goddamn, he was next on my list. I give Edge the nod as the best heel of the Ruthless Aggression era, even over Triple H.
Yeah. I mean, Triple H had some. He had some. He had a face run in there where he was actually like, you know, an over face.
Mm-hmm. With
Edge,
DX.
and they tried to make Edge a face. Every time they tried to do it, it was flat. You know, it
Mm-hmm.
didn't work.
The guy's just naturally a heel.
Edge is like Christian to me, where even though in real life he isn't, he just has like an unlikable demeanor to him.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Naturally a heel. Randy Orton's naturally a heel. Like, Randy Orton as a babyface is not even 10 times as interesting as Randy Orton as a heel.
And Randy Orton in real life is a heel.
Well, right.
You know what I mean? Like, he's telling people, like work out, please fuck off. I don't think I'll picture you. Shit like that. You know, he's just a natural heel.
But Edge was a great bitter, like that bitter Edge character was amazing. And to talk about, you know, I talked earlier about Triple H. You know, people can say what they want about Triple H, but even if he was putting somebody over, or even if somebody was putting him over, he was putting them over and getting them to be a bigger star. Edge's most classic feud is probably with Cena. You know, Edge was Cena's perennial rival. But before that, I think that Edge's feud with Shawn Michaels was so important to his rise.
Yeah.
And Shawn really, really did business for Edge.
Yeah, and his feud with Mick.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
The greatest, like I said, I don't know. That might be the greatest hardcore match of all time.
Yeah.
It definitely is the hardcore match of all time that makes the most sense.
And at least in the, like WWE, maybe of all time, but in the history of WWE, is Kyle saying something?
Huh.
But at least in the WWE,
Yeah.
it would be the greatest hardcore match of all time.
And they had a great feud.
Yeah.
And Orton and Edge with DX was great.
Rated RKO was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
His feud with Flair is under the radar a little bit, but that was a good feud.
Yeah, I mean, they did some hokey shit in that one, but the matches were good.
But he's feuding with Ric Flair, you know, it's going to be a little wacky, but
Yeah.
and then, I mean, he's in one of the realest feuds of all time with Matt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that might
I
be
will not die.
That might be the last like real conflicts draw heat or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
personal conflicts draw money or whatever type feuds. But yeah, Edge is on my list, and apparently he was on yours.
Yes, he was.
Do you have any more on your list that aren't honorable mentions?
I have one more because the next one on my list was Eddie.
Okay, I have one more too. So do we want to do our honorable mentions real quick and then do our number ones?
Well, my honorable mentions were one of them was Batista, which you already brought up. And then the other one for me was the tag team of Brian Kendrick and Paul London.
Good tag.
Very good tag team.
I really like both of those guys, and I find them to be two of the most underutilized talents in WWE history. Brian Kendrick, I think, suffered from being too small. Paul London, I think, suffered from being too high. So, but
What
yeah.
everything I heard too, he was kind of a big mouth.
Well, and I've always heard he's kind of a space cadet too. You know what I mean? Like he's kind of out there,
Yeah.
as a person. So,
We ever watched that promo with him
and Daniel Bryan?
where they're high as fuck?
Yes, I have a few times when I was drunk as fuck. Yes.
But I have I talked about Eddie without having, or JBL without having Eddie. He wouldn't have been something. So JBL is an honorable mention.
Mhm.
And then excuse me, Nate, he's a guy that I'm a fan of, and he never really did a whole lot, and I think he could have done a lot more. Was Charlie Haas.
Yeah.
And then just these two more guys. One is because I really liked the character, even though the name was kind of silly, but he was still a cool character. Was Carlito Caribbean Cool?
That's not cool.
It's not cool. And then the last guy, in my opinion, before they ruined him, was the last true funny man in professional wrestling, and that was Santino Marella.
I like Santino. I want to go back to Carlito for a second, because I want to clear something up for those of you that may be younger viewers that have never seen it or what have you. One of the greatest non-wrestling segments in wrestling history is the Piper's Pit at WrestleMania 21 with Steve Austin and Carlito.
You go on down to the back.
I don't care what you do.
I don't care where you go. You go on, as long as you go on down to the back.
Go on down to the back. That's not cool. That or when Austin's like, you stand there with your little skirt, your little fuzzy gimmicks. I love that segment. Anyway, whenever I hear Carlito, it jogs me back to that. You go on
down to the back.
I don't care what you do.
Go on down to the back. And then, of course, they beat him up.
Well, yeah, and Piper eats his apple and spits it in his face, but yeah. Anyway,
All right.
From the looks of Piper, it was the first apple he ate
in quite some time.
Since I don't have a list,
Somebody said apple, and he was like 8-ball. Anyway, go ahead, Kyle. Sorry.
Brown? Apple brown?
since I don't have a list, I'm going to run through a couple guys that, like, for me, or not even really for me, but guys that we have not mentioned yet that I think should be mentioned.
You better not
That's
make
cool.
the number one guy.
Oh, you haven't gone yet.
No, neither one of us have got our number one
I'm
yet.
sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you went. Go ahead. I know that these people aren't going to be your fucking number one, so.
Aaron, you're number one.
Brock Lesnar.
All right.
Brock Lesnar.
Brock was not on my list, surprisingly,
Why the fuck not?
but I'm going to definitely agree with that one.
Yep.
Brock Lesnar right now is the only thing I like about modern wrestling. He really is. He's the only thing that really, like, I am entertained by it. Like, if he's on, I'm gonna watch it. I care about what Brock Lesnar is doing.
And
I love Brock Lesnar.
during that era, what a fucking beast.
Yeah.
Like, what a beast. You know, I'm going to say this, and you guys might bring somebody up that just slips my mind. And I know that there's big guys that have good matches, okay? I understand that. Paul Orndorff or, et cetera, et cetera. But at that time, had there ever been a guy that looked like that could do what the fuck Brock Lesnar could?
Nope.
Yeah, like, fuck. I mean, what a fucking beast. He might be the greatest. I mean, him and Angle might be the greatest athletes of our time. I mean, fucking Luthez. I don't know. I wasn't alive then. That's what would happen. We would have this conversation. I'd be like, Angle and Lesnar are the two greatest, and then some guy'd be like, Ed the Strangler Lewis. Well, fuck, I wasn't alive. I've never even seen an egg. I've never seen an Ed the Strangler Lewis fucking match, so I don't want to hear it.
Egg the Scrambler Lewis.
Yeah, put that down for the gimmicks. I'll edit it out. We'll get that pop later. But anyway.
Brock Lesnar would take Luthez.
Especially now since he's dead.
I'm just saying, and just smack him in the mouth and put him in a suitcase. Just send him on his way.
In a suitcase. My name is Paul Heyman, and in this suitcase is Luthez.
It'd be like when fucking Garfield was smacking Odie around and sending him to Abu Dhabi or whatever.
You know what I just thought about? Brock Lesnar putting Luthez in a suitcase and then treating the suitcase like a beatbox.
I mean, that's what I would do to him. I know there's probably UFC people now, and it's happened, that can beat Brock Lesnar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It's happened.
But we're talking about the professional wrestling business.
I'm talking about the professional wrestling business. There is nobody that can do anything to Brock Lesnar.
Right.
He doesn't want them to do. There's not a lot of people that I'm just like, I've never met this man, but I'm afraid of him. I'm afraid of Brock Lesnar. To me, I mean, that he's the Ruthless Aggression guy. That era, it's Brock Lesnar. It's Brock Lesnar and then everybody else.
There's matches. My favorite Brock Lesnar matches from that era, obviously, are the ones with Angle. But do you know what, to me, epitomizes the Brock Lesnar character in that era?
What?
It's him wiping Hulk Hogan's blood across his chest.
Yeah.
That is so poignant. And so, to the fact, and, that's the way you fucking be a monster heel. You know what I mean? Yeah. I just beat up this legend, and I'm just gonna laugh and rub his blood across my massive chest.
And I liked the fact that he didn't do it all the time, but I would like when he would be cocky.
Yeah.
When he came out and he was doing all the mariachi stuff, Eddie and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And people can say what they want to say about Rock too. Rock isn't one of those guys that won't allow himself to lose or anything like that either.
Right.
Rock doesn't have an ego in that way. He doesn't.
No.
What's going on with him in the WWE now isn't him going, I won't do this or I won't do that. It's Vince McMahon or whoever, Triple H saying, you're the baddest guy we got.
Right,
so
and from the perspective of Brock Lesnar, people say, but from the perspective of Brock Lesnar, if Vince McMahon's going to give me millions of dollars to put over Seth Rollins or to be Mr. Money in the Bank, why the fuck wouldn't I do it?
Yeah.
I mean...
And then those people that are like, oh, Brock has the belt and he's never around, are the same people that were bitching. They change the belt every 5 minutes.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Jesus. Can't we have a believable champion? Who's your next guy? Who's your last guy?
Numero uno on my list, Kurt Angle.
All right. I got no Kurt Angle.
Whereas I mean, you know, you think about it, you know, Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, one of the great rivalries in our memory in wrestling. And I mean, did Kurt Angle ever have a bad match?
I can't think of one.
Me neither. That's kind of why he wound up number one on my list, because I thought, well, have I ever seen Kurt have a bad match? Have I ever seen Kurt in anything I did not find entertaining? And the answer is no. I think that he would be number one on my list, and it's unfortunate that him and Vince had a falling out in 2006, because I kind of wish, I don't know how you feel about this, Kyle, but I kind of wish that I almost wish Kurt Angle's run in TNA had never happened.
Yep.
I wish that he would have just stayed, completed that WWE run, and that would have been it. You know? And I also think, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
But to that point, I also think that Vince McMahon and his company would have stopped Kurt before he did the excruciating damage he did to himself.
Yeah. Kurt, right before he left, I was really into Kurt and what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because he dropped the whole, you know, goofy, fun-loving character, and he was just a badass.
Well, yeah, exactly. And the thing I liked the most about that character is he wasn't a babyface or a heel.
Yeah.
You know, one pay-per-view he was wrestling Mark Henry, and the next pay-per-view he was wrestling The Undertaker. You know, he was just a badass dude that fought people. It didn't matter if they were a good guy or a bad guy. He was just going to fight them and fuck them up. And to me, in that era, as far as match consistency goes, and just me, you know, I would say Angle was my favorite when it came to match consistency, and Eddie is my favorite when it comes to entertaining me from that era. So that, as they say, is that for our top 10s this week on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. So yeah, Kyle, go ahead. You got 5?
Yeah, just 5 guys that, like I said, I don't think you mentioned them, and
I like
if
5
you had,
guys.
you tell me to fuck off.
I like 5 guys.
I do.
It's good burgers.
First guy.
Yes.
Hurricane Helm.
Ah, yes. The Hurricane. Consistent performer. Entertaining gimmick. He was even entertaining when he was when he did the dual identity as the roving reporter.
Yep.
And can I say, one of the better moments of that era was Rock going, "Oh, it's just the Hamburglar." What's he gonna hit me with a chicken nugget? But yeah, I'll give you the Hurricane.
All right. Aaron, you got anything on the Hurricane?
I was a fan of him, and I I've never disliked him. I even liked him when he was Sugar Shane. So, yeah, I'll give you that.
All right. Next guy, Johnny Nitro, John Morrison.
Morrison, I say, is almost like, and you weren't on the show yet when we were talking about Shelton Benjamin. Morrison, different than Benjamin in that I think John Morrison was great in the ring, but his gimmick almost grated on my nerves.
Yeah.
Like his personality, I don't know. And
he was cuckoo for cockhold pups. Too.
I mean, Do you see what I'm saying, Kyle? Like, and you may be like,
Oh,
no, I liked his, if you liked his persona, that's cool too. But he just, like, his promos and stuff always grated on my nerves. But once the bell rang, I mean, an amazing performer.
No, I agree. Like I said, it's not really. This is not like my list or anything. It's just guys that, off the top of my head, I can think of that I hadn't been brought up.
I enjoyed John Morrison the most when he was with the Miz. Like I liked him more when he was. No, I'm that was in that same era, but I'm just saying.
Right. But we talked about Triple H, we talked about Orton, we talked about Batista. Fuck it, let's end it all with fucking Ric Flair.
Flair had a kind of a great tail end to his career in the Ruthless Aggression era because, he'd been kind of used and abused by WCW at the end of that promotion. So it was nice to see Flair. And Aaron and I were talking about this before we started recording tonight. But to me, Ric Flair's last match is WrestleMania 24. I completely ignore any of the Impact shit.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. None of the wrestling, in Impact happened. But absolutely. I mean, to be able to end his career on a high note as opposed to the low note that the end of WCW was for him, I will definitely give you that one. The H.
Yep. Next, Matt Hardy.
I'm not a big fan of Matt Hardy until, I like the latest shit, the delete stuff, but I was never a big Matt Hardy. I was more a Jeff Hardy mark than a Matt Hardy mark.
Well, and like I said, Jeff Hardy is definitely a great choice for Ruthless Aggression era, but I was a fan of the fucking Matt Hardy version 1.
That was fun. You're right. That was fun. Like the Matt Facts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you know what else was fun about that? I loved when, like, one of my favorite things about that gimmick was when Shannon Moore would get in the way of a move to protect Matt Hardy from the move. Like, that was really creative. I liked that. That was fun. But yeah, you're right. The V1 deal was fun. I guess when I was thinking more like I was not a fan of the Matt Hardy will not die. Matt Hardy.
Yeah, no.
Like that was not a deal for me. It was hokey. I don't know. And he seemed like a bitch. I hate to say it, but he kind of seemed like a bitch. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I wasn't really thinking about that being during the Ruthless Aggression era. But Matt Hardy V1, that was fun. That was fun stuff.
And then the last guy on my list, because I think he did the best in-ring work, not a great in-ring technician, but Vince McMahon.
The feud with Shawn Michaels is some of the best stuff of that era.
Because, he had Shawn, he had Hulk, he had, really, he didn't do a lot of wrestling in the Attitude Era or anything. It was more, in the Ruthless Aggression, because then he did the whole DX thing. And
Mm-hmm. One of the most iconic images is WrestleMania 19 with Vince poking his head over the ring apron.
Yep.
At Hulk Hogan.
Covered in blood.
Yeah. But, actually, my favorite Vince McMahon match is his match at WrestleMania 22 with Michaels. That's even better to me than the cage match with Austin. Because in that match, Vince McMahon gets absolutely no offense whatsoever.
No.
If you watch it from the beginning to the end, I don't believe, and I could be wrong, he might get some at the beginning, but it's essentially just like 15 minutes of Shawn Michaels beating the ever-loving fuck out of Vince McMahon.
Pretty much.
And do you remember Survivor Series of 2003?
When he takes the shovel shot.
Well, not even just takes a shovel shot. Like, if you watch that match, fucking Taker just fucking hits him in the face, like at the fucking bell ring, and goddamn is he bleeding. Like, Jesus Christ.
But yeah, Vince gets some kudos for that era too. You know, the most kudos he gets usually is for the Attitude Era. But you're right, in the Ruthless Aggression era, I mean, he actually went to the ring and got in there and did the business more than he did during the Attitude Era.
I would say that he was funner in the fucking Ruthless Aggression era than he was Attitude Era.
The only thing during the Ruthless Aggression era that Vince did that I disagree with is I never liked the shit with Stephanie.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it's just uncomfortable to me. Maybe it's because I'm a dad with a daughter, and I don't know. I don't know. I never dug on that. That was kind of over the top. But yeah, you're right. Other than that,
Her and Vince is one of the greatest outtakes ever, though. You ever seen that?
What's that? Which one?
Where she accidentally puts her hand on that light. Have you ever seen that?
No.
It's on a SmackDown, and they're cutting a promo or whatever, and she accidentally puts her hand on an actual light.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the desk, but they're talking, and she puts her hand on it. She's like, "Ow, that's hot." It's like, no shit. And it was just like a family moment, you know.
No shit.
I'm surprised you've never seen that.
No, I've never seen that.
No, no shit. Yeah,
All right, some good pulls by Kyle there, off the cuff, not being prepared, not being part of the post or the pre-production of the show. Good job on that. So, to wrap the show up this week, Aaron says that now go ahead and sum it up for the listeners. What do you have for us?
This is the worst televised wrestling card in the history of wrestling.
Damn. I mean, I'm watching 94 Raw right now.
This is 1999.
Oh.
Chattanooga, Tennessee, WCW, September 30th. I'm getting ahead of myself. Chattanooga, Tennessee, September 30th, 1999, WCW Thunder.
Oof.
Okay?
I bet that's bad.
This is the show results.
Is Hale on this card?
No.
No.
Starts out decent.
All right.
It's Juventud Guerrera, Psychosis, and La Parca versus Viano 4 and 5 and Silver King.
So they're buttering us up.
That should be good.
Yeah, they're buttering us up here.
Yeah. Well, Uvi, Psychosis, and La Parca beat Silver King and Vianos. Whatever. Good match. Now, I just want you guys to think about these huge names that are on this card. In the next match, Norman Smiley beat Adrian Bird. Ever heard of him?
No. His mother hasn't even heard of him.
He's just like this bald, light-skinned brother. Loses to Norman Smiley. And then the next match, Mona beats Brandy Alexander. Okay?
True.
People are paying for this.
So are sponsors.
And then after this match, Frankie Lancaster beats Dean Roll.
What the fuck is going on? This is televised?
And he beats him by disqualification because Scott Norton attacks Lancaster first, but then beats up Dean Roll too.
Dean Roll?
Yeah, and Frankie Lancaster.
What
No idea who any of these fucking people are. And then Norton challenges Goldberg for a match later, and Goldberg ends up accepting it.
He didn't challenge Frankie Lancaster, though.
And then in the next match, it's Hugh Morris and Brian Knobbs defeating David Taylor and Steven Regal. And then there's an interview with the Revolution. Then Bobby Eaton defeats Luther Biggs,
who is
with his manager Buzz Stern. Buzz Stern, who is Glacier. But he's doing a coach gimmick with this fat guy named Luther Briggs. And then in the match after that, Brad Armstrong defeats Horace Hogan.
Well, at least the right guy went over on that one.
Yeah. And then in the match after that, it is Rey Mysterio Jr. and Billy Kidman defeating Kendall William and Curly Bill.
Who is Virgil?
Virgil. And
you said Kendall William. You meant Kendall Windham.
Yeah, Kendall Windham. Sorry, I didn't mean to say William. I meant to say Windham. Kendall Windham and Curly Bill lose to Billy Kidman and Rey Mysterio. And the only good thing on this show is Larry Zbyszko says, "Man, this Curly Bill, he's a hell of a politician, isn't he?" He's like, he's part of a group, and that shit starts to, he doesn't see shit. He's like, that thing goes belly up, and he's right back into another one.
That's like the best work shoot comment ever.
Yeah, he's just basically like, man, Mike Jones, man, he knows how to fucking suck.
Mike Jones.
He basically says that Mike Jones is a complete parasite. Like, it's the only good thing about the show. And then in your super duper main event, Bill Goldberg defeats Scott Norton.
That was pretty bad.
The worst goddamn wrestling show I have ever watched.
I can't believe you made it through it. Like, I watch, folks, for those of you that don't know, I may have mentioned on the show before, I watch stuff in chronological order, and I'll watch, like right now I'm in 94, so I'm watching WWF and WCW and ECW, anything 94 all the way through chronologically. And I have never, in my chronological viewing of wrestling, even fired up an episode of Thunder. I don't know why, but to me, Thunder is the most boring wrestling show ever. It's so boring. Like, the set's boring, and the music is boring, and the lighting is boring. It's just boring.
Yeah, it was complete trash. That show was just horrible.
Wowza.
Yeah, let's see if you can hear this. I know you can't see it, but I want you to hear. This is Stephanie burning her hand on the lamp.
What do you want? You're hot.
Lamp was hot.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, no shit.
Did you hear him?
Yes.
He's like, yeah, no, lamp was hot. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, no shit. Pal.
It's not as funny as when he told Shane, you're going to catch a fucking beating.
Because that wasn't even an outtake.
Yeah, he was like, catch a fucking beating. It's like, goddamn, Vince, why can't you be like that more often? But yeah, I just, like I said, I gotta wrap it up here.
Well, Kyle.
I just wanted to read that horrible card to everyone.
Yes, sir. Thank you for letting us enjoy that.
You're welcome.
And Kyle, thank you for joining us on the show.
Like,
Absolutely.
I've heard the name Frankie Lancaster. Never saw him, but I heard the name. I've never.
Dean Roll.
Dean Roll.
He probably doesn't even have a Wikipedia.
Fucking trash, man.
Kyle, thank you for joining us on the show.
Yeah.
I was worried about you.
And don't be worried about me. I want to give a special shout out to my bitch of an ex-girlfriend for stealing my freaking ratchet set when I needed it to change the battery on my goddamn mower.
which means she's a ratchet.
Yeah.
So she's your ex-girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
And never going to be your girlfriend again.
Oh, fuck no.
So we can say on the show today, fuck that bitch.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, well, trust me, that was said a lot the other day when I was trying to change that fucking battery.
And, well, now I will get the shameless plugs out of the way, and we will get out of your way, listeners. We want to thank you for joining the We Can't Wrestle podcast here on Podbean, Stitcher, and hey, Kyle, did you hear we're on Spotify now, too?
Oh, sweet.
Hells yeah. You can get the show on Spotify as well. And that being said, just one more reminder before we go off the air. I'd like to remind anyone that wants to click the link on our Facebook group or our Facebook page. You can support Jerry Gray, former professional wrestler, in his fight against stage 4 cancer. Anything you can give to Jerry through his PayPal is greatly appreciated. It helps him with medical costs, groceries, anything that helps him get through his life. Jerry Gray, a great guy, a great storyteller, and he is not doing well right now. So, again, anything you can give to his GoFundMe through our links on the page are greatly appreciated. And other than that, I'll let my co-hosts say their final words, and I'll start Tootsie.
God bless Jerry Gray. God bless Jon Stewart.
Yes.
Fuck Dean Roll.
And fuck Dean Roll. God bless Jon Stewart. Aaron, was fuck Dean Roll your done?
Fuck him.
All right. Well, fuck you, Dean Roll. Wherever you are. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this week on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. We'll be back next week with more amazing content. I don't know what yet, but fuck it. We'll have something on for you. Thank you for joining us on this week's show. We're signing off, and we'll see you next time around on the We Can't Wrestle podcast.
I think I'm tired of my best friend stabbing me in the back. You think I'm playing? Right? I'm not playing. I'm gonna rip your head off.
He wasn't playing. Batista. Through Batista's mind here, it certainly wasn't race. Batista taking out his frustrations over.
Please, Dave, take it easy.
I've ever been.
Please, take it
You're
easy.
supposed to be my friend!
Dave, please, man. Take it easy, man. Please, you're hurting me, man. Please.
You're supposed to be my friend!